Oh, the nerd fighters!
So one of the biggest changes I've made in my life this year is I've begun to take my sartorial decisions more seriously. And if you don't know what that means, basically I've started dressing up more. I just reached a point in my life where I started to realize that I was more comfortable wearing maybe what someone would consider dress clothes rather than, a t-shirt and jeans all day. And little by little I began to change my wardrobe from things like t-shirts and hoodies to, simple dress shirts and eventually, even sport coats. I don't do it because I think I'm better than anyone or anything like that. I just personally like to dress up. It has been interesting seeing people's reactions to my change. I get a lot of questions like, do you have plans? Are you going somewhere? Big fancy meeting? Are you going to church? And I just simply respond, no, I just like dressing up. I've always liked dressing up and I've just started to do that more now. And so over the course of this year, I've been acquiring a lot more dress shirts, suits, nice trousers, sport coats, and of course, shoes! But I bring all of this up because the thing that has kind of been in my head, this idea that I've gotten addicted to, is the idea of the bespoke garment. Nowadays, the word bespoke essentially means 100% custom made. When it comes to things like clothing, there are basically 3 tiers. The first tier is off the rack or ready to wear. This is just, your normal stuff that you would go to the mall, you would go to the department store, you would walk in, you would buy, and you would wear. When creating those garments, the factory will create patterns for each of those individual items and then size them accordingly. Unfortunately, people don't actually grow 100% perfectly to those size specifications, so oftentimes the fit of a ready-to-wear garment leaves a little something to be desired. The next step up is what is often referred to as made to measure. In this case, an individual is measured often by a tailor, and then the tailor will then take existing patterns of articles, say a suit, and with those measurements, they will make alterations to the pattern so that the item fits that individual better. That is a great option for people who are wanting better fitting clothing, and they often have the ability to make small customizations as well. However, from there, going even further a step up, we reach bespoke. Like made to measure, the individual is measured, by a tailor, but instead of taking then existing patterns, the tailor will consult with the individual and actually design a specific article, specific garment, exactly to that person's specifications. So the person can decide, how wide they want their lapels to be, what kind of buttonholes do they want, do they want working or so-called surgeon cuffs on their suit jackets. And with that back and forth and those measurements, the tailor is able to create a 100% custom-made garment for that individual. The tailor, instead of taking existing patterns, like you might be able to buy at your local sewing store and making alterations, like made to measure, they will actually take your measurements and your criteria and 100% from scratch create a custom pattern for you for that single garment. And then they will create the garment, they will do fittings, they'll make alterations, if you change your mind on something, they'll be able to make changes there. And I think the thing that draws me most to the bespoke experience is that one-on-one relationship you have with the person or small group of people who are creating your garment. Clothing today has become such a commodity that I think it's important and incredibly rewarding to support the few people in this world that are still creating, unique pieces 100% custom made, handmade, using their own skills, talents, and tastes. Now the reason I'm talking about this for this video topic is because I don't have the money to afford bespoke yet. But I am stuffing coins into a jar in hopes that someday I will be able to afford, at the very least, a pair of bespoke shoes, because shoes are awesome. And again, it's not about, owning something that's super expensive or owning something that's nicer than everyone. It's really, truly the craftsmanship and the work that went into making that piece, that suit, that shirt, that shoe, and, that relationship that you cultivate with your cobbler, with your tailor. That is what draws me to the bespoke experience. I mean, if it were cheaper, all the better. I wouldn't care. It's not about the money. It's not about the status. It's about the relationship and valuing that artisanship. So anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you learned something. And I don't know if we still do this, but Tim, we'll see you tomorrow.